My brother-in-law dropped off this Burl to me and said, see what you can do with it. He got it from his neighbor. So I'll give him a bowl out of this, and his neighbor will get a bowl out of this also. But we got to do is figure out just exactly how we're going to cut this. And that's what this video is entirely about, is just how are you going to get this off to get the best cuts off of it and the sizes that you want. It is just fun, and each one of these is different. I mean, you just look at some of this stuff that's going on in here. It's just fun. One of the things it is it's very heavy. So I'm going to weigh it to find out what we got. 55.8. That is a lot of weight in a very small piece of wood. Let's take her apart and see what we got. I'm getting ready to cut this up, and I realize that I can actually cut right straight through. If I take this cut that's right on the very top, I can go all the way straight through and not affect the other bowls. So I can take this cut and go all the way straight through this piece, and she comes out right on the center on the other side. So I'm going to see what we can do with this. We're going to make our first cut. I'm going to go all the way through at this point, all the way down through, and make it cut it into two pieces. All right, I cut through my first half, and it gives you a real good idea of what we're working with here. I'm going to pick up the other half down here. That's some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wood. And that burling goes almost all the way straight through the branch itself. So I should be able to get some nice stuff out of here. Okay, I'm going to make my next cut right straight down along this one. I'm going to go deep enough, but I don't want to touch this bowl here. So we want to cut this at an angle down this way. And then we're going to slice out the two pieces this way. And then we'll clean it up. Okay, we're going to take this one and cut this at an angle right straight down through to my cut mark that's already in here, and drop this piece off. There's one bowl. Now we got to cut this piece straight down the other way. So now I'm going to cut right straight down this way. That'll give me a flat spot to put my tenon on. I'm going to go straight down, following the plane that's on this side, and I'm going to follow it down this side. And I want an area that's about 4 inches wide in the bottom here for my tenon. Now I've got a flat spot, and I can put my tenon right in here. I'm going to put this on the bandsaw and trim it out, so I've got a round when I get done here. Now this is my last cut here with the chainsaw. And all I got to do is cut right straight down through. I'm going to end up with a piece here and a piece down here. This one's going to be about 9 inches. This one's going to be about 7. So I'm going to cut that right like that. So we'll put this off to the side. Get it lined up the way I want it. And lock it in place. Just going to cut right straight down like that. Alrighty, now I've got a 7-inch burl. That's going to work out great. This is going to be my 9-inch burl here. I'm going to try and keep my live edge out on the outside there, and then the rest of this will be dug out. But what I got to do still is I can't have this sharp edge here. I need a flat edge to put my tenon on. So I'm going to line this up as to where I want it to fit on here, and then I'm going to cut down through and get a flat spot for my tenon. Very difficult to do on a bandsaw, but with a chainsaw and the Jaw Horse, I can do this. So I'm going to cut this right straight down here. Now that gives me a flat spot to put my tenon on. And I can lay it on top of my bandsaw and just make my circle cut. All right, I got my burl cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. Out of that, I don't know if I'll get any center savers on them because there really isn't that much room in them. But this particular one right here, we had to cut the backside off of it so I could have a place to put my tenon. Well, that's where this piece came from. Well, there it is right there. So I took that off of there to give myself a flat spot. May hang on to this. I don't know if I can do anything with it. And I did the exact same thing with this one. And this had to be cut off of here. but you got to have a flat spot to work with. The other pieces that I have here have worked out pretty good with a flat spot right there that I can put a tenon on. I'm going to cut this off, and then it's going to take and make a round circle right on the bandsaw with the piece that's left there. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with this one. It's got a flat spot, put my tenon on there, and I'll make my circle. This one is a little off kilter because I want that to be the center of it right there. So this does not have a flat spot, which I'll have to figure out if I can do that on the bandsaw, or I'll do it with the chainsaw again. But, all right, let's get them down to rounds. All right, I got them all cut up into circles now, so I've got my bowl blanks. So I have 5 pieces out of that one burl. This one's 5.5 circle. This one's 5.5. This one's a 7, a 9, and a 9. All right, we're going to put it on the lathe and see what we can get out of the inside of these. All right, I'm going to do my first burl here. First thing I got to do is I got to get a tenon put on here and get this rounded up better than it is. But I've got to get this down a little deeper to about here so I can get my tenon on. I'm just going to use a small tenon on it. Use some sharp tools. This is very, very hard. This is like rock. Now I got to get this down in farther so I can get my tenon on here. Oh, we're real close to where it's got to be. I got a little flat spot here I got to clear out. I got a live edge bowl here, and I know as soon as I put on the tongue oil, it's going to pop. But right now I'm going to sand it all up. I won't put you guys through that. So I'm going to sand this up and get back to you. This is a 9-inch bowl, and I'm not exactly sure how it's going to come out, but because this is very low on this side, this is very flat right here from the cut with the chainsaw, but got to get this cleared up and this cleared up. Just this flat spot to get rid of. We're going to see what we can do with this one. It's going to be a tough cut on the inside because there's open area. Well, that's not bad. And a huge open area there. So I got 2 large open areas. This one goes almost all the way to the bottom. But I'm hoping to cut that right out and leave those just like they are. This started out as a 9-inch bowl. I think I'm down to maybe 7.5, 8 now. This is a maple burl, and this is where the chainsaw cut came through on the side of the burl. So I'm going to try and keep as much of this as possible. So I'm going to basically keep, this is going to be more like a funnel type bowl. Will be very tall and narrow in the bottom. And I do have another cut coming through here, but I got a little crazy with my chainsaw. I should have backed off a little bit. But just going to put a small tenon on the back side of this and see what we can come up with. We haven't hit any of the flat area here yet. And I got a ways to go on that one. That is a very, very deep cut right there. Disappointed in myself on that one. The chainsaw cut that I had down the side is gone, but I still have this terrible cut right here. I'm going to take it in and bring it back out. Let's see if we can do that. All right, all my chainsaw cuts and all my other stuff is gone, but it's looking weird, that's for sure. Got a lot of cracking going on here. Bring up the bottom. First thing I want to do is I want to put a tenon on here. All right, let's flip it around, see what we can do to the inside. All right, we're going to try and clear this out here and go down and follow the outside edge here and clear all this inside out. We'll see what we got here. This might work. Just a little bit. Okay, there's an unusual bull. Ooh, and she feels really good. I followed the curve very nicely. I don't know that I would change. There's a little bit of little high spot right there. Sand this thing up and see what we can get out of it. I gotta definitely put some CA glue on here. We'll do that now. You can see the water pushing out of the inside right there. This piece of burl actually had a limb that came out through the bottom side right here, and I filled it with epoxy, which also I used a brown powder, which also has brass filings in it, just to make it blend in a little bit more. But on the top, it also had some holes that I filled that in with epoxy also. And it actually worked out pretty darn good. I'm pleased to how that part of it came out. I used a little bit of brown CA glue also to give it a little, fill it a little bit. Here I'm just cleaning it up, taking all the excess off the outside there and just rounding it over a little bit. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to actually do the other side and clean up the bottom, give it a little bit of a concave so that when I take off the tenon, it'll sit flat on. Here I'm separating it into two different pieces, the top and the bottom. And cutting through, and then when I get down deep enough, I switch over to the handsaw. And here it is separated. All right, here I'm cutting straight in using my parting tool. Just trying to get a nice straight edge on the outside and cleaning it out with my pole gouge. Checking the depth just to see where I'm at. Now I'm attaching the lid to the actual bottom itself, and I use blue tape or painter's tape, and it allows it to hold it tight enough with the support from the end, the tailstock, to keep it from coming apart. But it's enough to give it so I have enough to take the point off. Now I'm putting it on a cold chuck to do the bottom and take the tenon off the bottom. All right, here's the completed lidded box. You'll line up the grain work to it and it just slips right together. Nice looking box. You'll notice that the epoxy turned out pretty darn nice. When it gets the tongue oil on, it makes a big difference. All right, these are the two 9-inch pieces that I've got out of that burl. And this one was the one that had the deep hole in it. And this just came out very unique. I had a couple of chainsaw marks on it, which caused me to actually give it a little bit of a curve in here. It's sort of like a Roman ogee look to it, but a lot of lines. There's that one. And this is the 9-inch one from the other side, which is more of a normal bowl, but it had some deep, deep cuts back into it, which added to, in my opinion, added to the look of the bowl. The two smaller ones I turned into lidded boxes. This one was a 5.5, and this was a 5.5 also. But this one it just turned out differently. I just like the way it looks. It just beautiful, beautiful wood. And this is the 7-inch bowl that I had. Very, very nice. I'm going to take these down to my brother-in-law and his neighbor and let them pick which ones they want.